Okay, here we are again. Another episode of Billy Watson TV with Tony Sayers, author, researcher, and all-round good egg. I do like Tony. He's a sound guy. You know, some people in your kind of field, like the ones who you expose quite a lot, the new agey kind of energy thing that you don't deny, but you're kind of grounded and earthy and real with it, where you get these new ager guys who you're kind of exposing are all kind of whimsy and lovey-dovey, and it's not my type of scene, that, you know.
Yeah, I try. I mean, I think, yeah, that's part of the new age, isn't it? Especially with the men, it kind of feminizes the men. It's all love and light, rainbows and unicorns, you know, just keep the vibes high. And the world's just going to manifest into some kind of utopia, and we're all going to ride off into the distance on our unicorns. So, but that's yeah, exactly right. Just think positive thoughts, and we'll get there. It's going to take down a death cult.
Just ignore the death cult. Just ignore that. That'll just disappear. Things will be cushy. Never mind the fact that you can't go anywhere or do anything very soon without having a poison dart injected into you. So just have to think good vibes and avoid that as well. That'll just get past the track and trace guy, you know. You'll just become... There is a movie with Will Smith, and it was like these alien creatures going around, and the only way to avoid them was to not be in fear. But the CGI would make them really, really scary, you know. So in one way, it was quite a good lesson, like the demons and stuff that are around us. If we resonate of love and that, they can't get in and they can't see you. But if you're resonating in that fear, no?
I don't know if I even go along with that in terms of the fact that even if you're just sitting in under a tree meditating in love, you know, I still think that they, knowing what I know, having worked with clearing and knowing how they work, I still think that they can mess with you. But I guess, certainly their caviar of choice is kind of fear energy, and I think that makes it easier for them to kind of interface with us and siphon off our energy. So it is preferable, but you know, they use any kind of energy they can get hold of. They feed on Reiki energy and all that new age stuff, and so it's a big problem.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking recently that almost like you could say if there's a Satan or a Lucifer, the dark side or whatever, that these guys do the satanic rituals to. With the internet and, you know, all people like Alex Jones and even David Icke, these people, they are kind of exposing the dark. And to me, it seems like the COVID is so obvious that almost like it's begging to be found out, and people are almost, you know, just one simple fact away from learning that the government's lying to them and they're poisoning everybody, and it's exposing the dark side, and then they're kind of wound up to react to that so they can bring in martial law if we react violently. And then that sets the scene for some kind of angel coming in, some new age guru, the white light guy kind of landing, and that's your Satan in disguise, you know, the man of peace. But basically it's all that bullshit woke left agenda type.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we know that they've got holographic technology, and, you know, who knows what they could do with that. They could make Jesus appear in the sky, or, you know, whatever. But I actually just brought out a video on my YouTube channel about how God is a demon. God, the religious God, and how we basically were existing in a false God matrix. And essentially what we're dealing with here is a very large entity, let's say, who is kind of head honcho of this matrix that thinks he's in charge. And this false god requires worship, it requires prayer, it requires you to do stupid things like get up at 4 a.m. and bow down and pray to him. It requires you to have go to church and do all these weird rituals where you're drinking blood and breaking, you know, bread and all this stuff. And basically this God thinks he's in control, he thinks it's all powerful. And this is what we have been led to believe, that God is here in this kind of this entity that's out or sitting on the cloud watching over us, judging us, when really, when you look at it, it's just, you imagine if that was a person, you would call them a narcissist, right? You would, if someone, you know, just say like, your mother created you, right? You came from your mother. Imagine your mother saying that you need to pray to her and you need to do all these sort of strange rituals and all this kind of stuff. None of it makes sense. We're dealing with an entity that's basically narcissistic. I mean, what kind of God would send people to hell to burn forever if you don't believe in it, right? I mean, that is completely demonic, completely evil. And yet this is the God that so many people, particularly in religion, and not even if you're religious, a lot of people are giving this false God and the false God matrix energy, powering it up by prayer, which when you think about it, what is prayer? You'll pray for something. And so he's got all his light beings, his false white light beings, his archangels, his ascended masters, and all these other entities that people are giving their energy and trying to connect to. And so the whole thing's a mess. The whole thing, you know, energetically and going into those astral dimensions, people are just connecting with all these beings. They have no idea what they're dealing with. They're just basically dealing with entities that are masquerading of the light. They're not of the true light. And of course, what it is, it's the ultimate savior program. It's, you know, to look outside of yourself for this omnipresent God that's supposed to be, when we're praying, it's going to help us, it's going to save us. I mean, how many decades, how many centuries have we been praying for peace? Yeah, we're in more turmoil than what we've ever been before. And I still don't understand why people get so triggered when you even put this out there, because it's pretty obvious to me that this God that we're dealing with in this reality is downright evil. And yeah, it's one that people don't want to realize. They still want to believe that there's this omnipresent savior outside that is going to wash all our problems away. And of course, what that does is, the main part of that deception is it keeps us away from understanding our own true power and what we are. And what they've done here in this matrix is they've set up a smorgasbord of different gods, entities, saviors that you can put your faith and trust into and look at as a guru or someone that's going to get you out of your mess. So whether that be a Hindu god, a Jesus, some guru, a politician, a friendly alien race. So we have a smorgasbord of all these different beings or people that we can give our energy to, that's going to come and save us. And of course, it never happens. It never happens. And this is the big problem that we have to get over and really understand on a deep level, is that we have to stop looking at other beings, other people, other politicians, other gurus, God, to come and save us, or think that any of them are going to help us. They're not. They're not. And that's been self-evident down the eons of time, whereby we're more enslaved than we've ever been before. And I've said before that we tend to think that because something is old or it's tradition, that it is somehow beneficial. You know, I hear so many people talk about Buddhism and Hinduism and how this, you know, the chakras and all this stuff and how they're so wonderful and great. And well, hang on a minute, most of us we can't even go out right now, like properly. Not like we used to. So where has all these traditions led us? Where have all these belief systems led us? Where has praying to God led us? It's led us into total enslavement. And yeah, based on my work, you know, working in sort of the energetic fields, the metaphysical fields, I know that these beings, they'll masquerade and they'll siphon off people's energy. As soon as you set the intention to connect with anything like that, they're in your energetic field, they're siphoning your energy and they're sucking you dry. And of course, they masquerade themselves as of the light, you know, angels and all of that stuff, because they know that if they appeared how they truly were, people wouldn't go anywhere near them. So they have to masquerade themselves, just like in this dimension, the politicians have to masquerade themselves in their suit and tie and looking very prim and proper, and they speak very eloquently, and that, you know, they'll tell you all the right things, and they'll whisper sweet nothings in your ear, but at the same time, they couldn't be more evil. And so that same dynamic is working in the astral realm, at least not with this false god that everyone wants to believe in, give their energy to, pray to, and he's just there lapping it up. Or I say he, the entity, he's probably hasn't got a agenda, but the thing is that the empowering part of it is if you can move past all of that and realize that all these are just programs that they want you to believe in, and they don't care which one that you believe in. And then you come back to yourself, and then you understand that basically what you are is an infinite amount of essence energy, which is running through you, creative energy. You have that spark of the creative energy, not the false god, running through you, which is what they need to feed on. We're absolutely massive, powerful batteries. When you understand that that is what you really are, absolute genius, absolute creativeness, then suddenly it becomes very powerful and empowering. And you don't need these other gods and false white light beings, because you understand that you really have that spark of the creative essence within you. And so we go way beyond this false god matrix. And this is what we're caught up in. And this is what people have got to get their heads around. And really, the biggest deception out of all of them is that we don't have any power, and we have to look at others to come and help us and come and save us. And if we all woke up in the morning and realized what it actually is that we are, then this whole thing would come down. Because when you understand that you are that true essence energy, then you move into sovereignty, self-empowerment, self-sovereignty, no leaders, no rulers. Because that doesn't do rulers, that doesn't do leaders, that doesn't do saviors. It's way, way, way beyond any of that stuff. But they've tricked us in this matrix to believe that we're little me, we don't have any power, we need them, they need that, they're the only ones that can tell us what to do and how to live, they have to make all the rules. And yet even now, even still in alternative media and the truth community, people still want to believe that there's this God. They want to believe in this false God that is somehow going to help them either in this life or in the afterlife. No, we need to help ourselves in this life, and we need to help ourselves when we die as well. Make sure that we pass over and we don't get caught stuck back in this loop, this soul mill trap.
Yep, you said a lot of good stuff there, Tony. The main thing that I take and agree with you wholeheartedly is the personal responsibility aspect. Because even the fact of this virus, if we understand you can't catch a virus, then you have to be responsible for your own health. And that's the kind of blessing that this could have provided everybody, to look at our health. And, you know, these pills can't cure us. We have to be responsible on that level. And then with the Matrix, I've set up these jobs where you go to 9 to 5. And as you said, you don't want a savior, but even your sovereign spirit doesn't want a boss. We don't like being told what to do. We want to go up in the morning and make our own decisions. Mm-hmm. And that is a big leap from people to make. They need the nanny state. They need their secure job. They can't think about surviving themselves. So they just go along with the program because they are heavily invested in that program and can't see an alternative from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The same thing is happening in this dimension. You mentioned doctors there. We've been led to believe that to become healthy, we need to look outside of ourselves and go to a doctor who we know has just been indoctrinated for 10 years or whatever, however long they stay in school for. And
the doctor just doctors things. You get a document and you doctor it. You're just changing. The doctor changes your chemical makeup, It doesn't heal you. It can't be called healers. They're called doctors.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, just on that metaphysical level, when you take drugs or drink alcohol, or that can open you up to entities and attachments, and pharmaceuticals can do the same. They can open you up. Anything really that alters your consciousness can open you up to interference. And so when people are getting their meds, and actually an interesting thing that I saw on the feedback with the jibby jab is that, well, before I go into that, just to explain that a lot of people, when someone's got a strong entity attachment, they will quite often get suicidal thoughts that don't feel like their own. I've had people cut down the years say to me, Tony, I was driving my car down the road and some voice came in my head and told me to, drive the car into a wall. I know it wasn't my voice. So suicidal thoughts are often a sign of a very strong entity attachment. And just as I'm talking about this, the banging's getting really loud in the background. But what I found interesting the other day, I was in one of these jibby jab feedback groups, and one of the people in there, they'd taken one of the different variations, the choices that they give you. They all think they've got this choice, don't they? Oh, well, I took Pfizer. What one did you?
Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, they both rot your teeth, Yeah,
exactly right. And so, so basically, what she said one of the things, the side effects was she was getting suicidal thoughts, right? And I knew instantly. I knew, because what's happened is that jibby jab has altered her frequency, and it's allowed these beings to interface with her energy bodies and interfere. So it's put her body in trauma, because obviously it's poison, and it's altered her frequency, and something heavy's got into her, and now it's messing with her thoughts. So it's very interesting that seems to be the feedback, or that was one of the feedbacks the other day. So.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. Sometimes people don't tend to think about the spiritual aspect and how these things are affecting us in this life, because we're taught everything's physical, therefore you need the physical drug. Even just talking to the doctor and releasing the emotional burden is not seen as significant, but even that is a large part to do with the healing. Talking and having social contact. I mean, they're putting us under lock and key, basically. How can they claim it's for your health? People need social contact, not social distance, and that's a paradox. But we've got some questions here. Barry's asking, can you ask about Reiki energy being sapped by entities? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so basically, there's a number of false energy grids that have been put up, and Reiki Energy is one of them, basically. So it's almost like false white light. Again, it's probably not going to be popular. People won't want to hear it. But
I thought you were into Reiki in some way.
Sorry?
I thought you at some time were into Reiki. No?
About 6 years ago, before I found out all about this. I don't use Reiki anymore. If you want to try and connect with any kind of energy, the safest one to use is nature. So if you or your own energy. So you just want to, and you can do that just with your intention alone, just connecting with nature energy, and you can visualize it coming up and down your body, clearing your body. You can easily do that. So
what is Reiki energy then? Because certain people have had results with Reiki healing and stuff like that. How would you explain why they get the results and why?
So what you'll get with Reiki is you'll get what I refer to as a false high. So it's a little bit like back in the day, if you ever took ecstasy or anything like that, you'll feel like you'll feel good for maybe a day or two, and it's almost like that kind of new age false cloud on. It's like a false. They have to put a bit of sugar in everything to keep it going, right? And so And so, but then after that, there's generally a slump or a crash, and then you have to do it again, right? So it's like a false energetic grid that they've set up here, along with the Reiki symbols, which basically they're feeding on. So basically, these are sigils that they also use, that when you set your intention to work with them, they're also, somehow it makes it easier for them to siphon the energy. So that's basically what we're dealing with when we're dealing with Reiki. Okay,
and another question is, do you think there are any, so basically how do the entities sap that then? How do they sap the Reiki energy?
Well, the entities have ways of locking into our energy fields, the chakras being one of them.
Because you talk about the removal of chakras is quite interesting as well. That can be quite controversial. What are chakras? How can you remove them for a start? And why would you want to do that?
Well, the chakras are just they're basically implants. They're energetic implants. So what they do is they act as a plug for entities to access your energy field, and then they're able to loop negative mind thoughts, mind loops round and round and round. So entities have a number of ways in. That the chakras is one of the main ones. So. But they can also get in on subconscious wounds, or when we're triggered, things like that. When we drop in our frequency, i.e. alcohol, spirits, I mean, it's called spirits for a reason, drug abuse, obviously anything like that. But also, I mean, when you think of the chakras, like logically, they don't make sense, because if you imagine you're the creator of these wonderful vessels called humans, in terms of our physical body and our energetic bodies, why would you compartmentalize your energy? Why would you make it so the person had to keep balancing their chakras to feel aligned, right? So when you remove that implant, that energy just naturally flows. There's no need to just keep balancing your chakras, right? So it doesn't even make logically sense. And in actual fact, you know, when I have sessions with people, I mean, the chakras are just one of so many other overlays. It's really like 0.1% of everything that needs to be removed. But obviously, people latch onto the chakras because they're so prominent within the New Age. It's also very triggering for people to hear, because they've been long indoctrinated with the belief that chakras are good. I mean, they use all the rainbow colours and the lotus flowers, which we know, you know, those things are very, they appeal to the subconscious. But so what we do have is we have three, I guess you could call them natural chakras, and these are what are known as our Dantian points. And there's one around the third eye, there's one around where the heart chakra is, and there's one where you would call the sacral chakra. So these are basically our 3 points of energy that we have, where essence energy flows. There's 7 chakras that are known in the New Age. They're literally just an etheric implant that basically put there at birth. So yeah, when these are removed along with the other overlays, there is often people report not having the mind loopings. It's not like you'll never have a negative thought again, but you just don't have that constant mind loop. A lot of people feel their energy flows better, and they don't feel so drained. But as I say, there's more than one. There's a lot of different overlays, grids, holographic themes, AI implants. There's implants all around the key areas of our bodies, like the heart, the neocortex area of the brain, areas that they want to kind of shut down and suppress. They've overlaid it.
We should have more compassion for the sheep, basically, because it sounds like it's a pretty big war on it.
I mean, the manipulation physically, just here in this dimension, having to earn money for a living, having to pay for roof over your head. So all the things that we go through here in 3D, and all the manipulations in 4D as well, you would come to the conclusion we're fucked, right? But when you look past that and take a step back and look a bit further back, why do they need to do all of that to us? Well, they need to do all of that to us because we're so fucking powerful. So in a way, it's all like a backhanded compliment, because if we weren't so powerful, they wouldn't need to do all of this to us. And that's really got to be the takeaway for people when I speak about this, because of course, when I speak about these things, a lot of people can find it triggering and that kind of stuff. But they only need to do all of this because they're so weak themselves, and they know how powerful we truly are. And this is like the cosmic joke, because most humans are walking around in their day-to-day life thinking, I've got no power, I'm just little me, what can I do? If we only knew, if we only really knew just a tenth of what we are as a human, like an individual human, just how powerful we are, this would be over overnight. But this is why it's so important that they've layered this matrix with all these savior programs, all these false gods, all these politicians, gurus, to keep us in that, I need someone else to come and save me, right? So the manipulations are huge, and as I say, the chakra, like I say, everyone latches onto that. You know, on my YouTube channel, there's a lot of information about all of this stuff, but you know, they've overlaid the astral body. So what they're doing at night is they project bad dreams or nightmares based on your subconscious wounds. We don't always remember our dreams because they wipe our memory. And then these entities will feed on our energy at night. This is why sometimes you can sleep for 12 hours and wake up feeling like you've not slept at all, because they've been having a feast during the night as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different overlays, grids, holographic themes, implants, a lot of energetic hijacking. So yeah, I guess what you're saying is, yeah, we can have some compassion towards the sheep, but we've all had to wake up, right? So you know, we're all subject to the same kind of hijacking, but yeah. So.
Okay, so Vicky's asking, do you think there's any good entities out there?
So basically, I'm not saying that there's not anything good out there in the universe anywhere. What I'm saying is that it's certainly not in the astral realm. It's certainly not in 4D. It's certainly not in that dimension that everyone's sort of trying to hook into and communicate with beings in. Based on 6 years of clearing this stuff and working this stuff, is everything in the astral realm is either masquerading of the light or is just completely dark. There isn't anything that I would connect to. I don't even like the term higher self, right? Because it implies that there's something outside of you that is all knowing and knows more. I tell people I prefer the term inner self. So if ever I'm making a decision or I'm trying to discern something, I'm tuning in internally. I'm not trying to ask a guide or ask an angel or ask an alien, or because they'll come in and they'll manipulate. As soon as you call them in, so as soon as you set your intention, they don't need a lot. They don't need a lot.
It's like vampires. Vampires have to be invited in.
Yeah, I mean, you can just watch a YouTube video, connect with Archangel Michael, and that's consent, right? He's in on your energy field, right? And they'll be trying to manipulate and coerce you into ways, and they may whisper sweet nothings in your ear and tell you, you know, you're here to change the world and all this stuff. And channeled information is the same. It's when people are channeling, they're channeling into the fourth dimension. And all they're doing is they're channeling with false white light beings, maybe Arcturians, maybe Pleiadians, all this new age junk. And it's a huge problem, Billy. It's a huge problem because what's happening is people are, quote unquote, waking up, and then they're falling straight into they're having the realization that they're more than just human, which is great. But then they're falling in to the new age movement, which was all set up by Helena Blavatsky, who was basically a Luciferian. And so what they've so cleverly done is they've set up this kind of false awakening. So people are waking up and then they're falling into another layer of the matrix. Where there's
I said at the start, the dark is making things so bad, people are waking up to it, and then that's there ready to catch them.
Absolutely. What does the New Age do? It appeals to people's emotion. Most people they've had a lot of trauma, you know, people are tired, they're exhausted, the world, you know, let's face it, it looks pretty dark. If you can go and fall into angels and unicorns and love and light, and I get it. Who wouldn't want to do that? I get it completely. And I understand, I really understand why people get triggered when I talk about, you know, these beings not being of the true light and arcane. Because it's like another, oh my God, you're joking me, right? But we can't be emotive about all of this. We have to go with what's true, not with what feels right. And a lot of people stuck in those realms of the new age gods and all this, and they're stuck in their emotions. I get it. You want to believe that there's angels. There may be angels, right? But maybe not down in these dense dimensions, 4D and all that, right? We have to move out of our emotions, and we have to move into, okay, this isn't perhaps what I want to hear, but it feels true, and so we have to discern on that basis.
So how do people do that? How do people listen to their voice and not these other voices? Is there a way to get really attuned to that?
Well, I mean, they will try and interfere. You know, the more you can sort of clear yourself, the more you're left with just your own thoughts. But it's really, I mean, for me, truth is a frequency. It's something that you feel. It's a resonance, and no matter the interference, if you really take the time and tune into something, you can feel like not only just what the person's saying, but also their energy. So when I'm looking at you talking, first thing I do, if I never seen you before, first thing I'm doing is I'm trying to feel your energy, right? Is there something off, right? You know, some of these shills sometimes, no. Yeah, there's something very off with you, Billy. There's something very off with you. but, you know, like I don't know who to use as a, you know. There's loads of shields out there, isn't there? But you listen to them and
Parks. Everyone's talking about
Simon Parks. Yeah, he's basically a shield, right? Yeah. So he was promoting Q and Trump and all that shit, right? So with him, all I see with him is reptilian. Like every time I look at him, I see reptilian energy. But it's when you're looking at this person, it's like, what's their energy coming across? It's something off, and sometimes it's very subtle. But the more you do it, the more you tune into it, the more it becomes apparent. And then I'm looking for, what does the information feel like? Does it feel true? Not does it feel good? Oh, that makes me feel nice. Archangels, oh great. Yeah, that no. Does it feel true? Is there that resonance? And that's what people need to look for. And the thing is, we've become so disconnected from our discernment. And Tracy mentions in the comment our gut feeling, that we haven't as a species, we've lost our ability to think critically and to discern. So we have to get back to really doing that. And so that's what I would say to people as to how to discern information, really.
Just an example of what you're talking about. Basically, I took a lot of acid back in the day, realised I was fucked up. There's this place in Edinburgh called the Salisbury Centre, and they had different classes on. So it was like spiritual kind of shopping, you know. Every night there's 4 different rooms, and you could pick which one. I've done a bit of this, a bit of that. I eventually settled on this Tibetan book of the Living and Dying by a guy called Sogyal Rinpoche. So I studied that every week for a year. Ended up going to London to a big retreat, and I was meditating on this guy, like basically a picture, and you know, meditate my arse off. Went down, seen him in the flesh, and some quite crazy things happened. But I realised it was basically a cult. You know, at the end of the 10 days, I didn't want anything more to do with it. And I found out a couple of years later that this guy apparently was like molesting or sexually, you know, behind the scenes chatting up with the birds and the followers and all that, you know. And I was like, I've been meditating on them, so
yeah. It doesn't surprise me. There's unfortunately, I mean, there's so many. I used to live in Thailand, and I lived on Koh Samui, which is next to the spiritual island Koh Phangan. And when I was over there, I refused to live in Koh Phangan because it was full of New Agers. But when I was over there, there was a big yoga center called Agama, and it turned out that the head of the yoga center was basically going around raping women, and and using tantric sex as an excuse and all this like weird New Age stuff. There's also been accusations against people like Muji, and you know, he's also been using his spiritual prowess.
A lot of them come out. It's very dark.
Yeah, and the big one was John of God in Brazil. I mean, he was child trafficking, right? He was child trafficking. This is a guy that he was on Oprah Winfrey's show. So I'm not saying that you can't trust anyone, but there's a lot of people in that movement. I mean, this is what I do on my YouTube channel. I expose them. I do reviews and point out the deceptions, which can be very subtle sometimes, because they package them all in like an egg of love and light. For example, one of the ones is never get angry, right? They tell you that you should never get angry because you'll lower your vibration and you'll draw more of the negative stuff in, right? It's absolute bollocks, right? There's a place for righteous anger.
Right.
And in fact, anger drives us into change in the world, right? You've got to get angry first. It's like that old film. It's like, get angry. I can't remember what it was.
Network.
Yeah, Network. And
mad as hell.
Yeah. If you don't, that our emotions exist for a reason, right? If you feel guilt, maybe you need to apologize to someone. If you feel angry, maybe someone, maybe you need to do something about it. I mean, dwelling in anger is obviously not good, but the New Age just wants to turn people into wet lettuces where nobody thinks or everything, nobody feels anything. They demonize the ego. They say that you need to try and destroy the ego. We need a healthy ego here, right? If there was no ego, you wouldn't be going to do your comedy and all that, the wonderful creative work that you do. I wouldn't have written books. There would be no music in the world. You know, the ego makes us who we are. Being stuck in ego and having a huge ego that's kind of out of balance, yeah, that's a problem. But the whole idea of destroying the ego, because they want you to destroy the ego, because then it destroys your true blueprint, the characteristic of who you are. You know,
mature the ego is a better thing.
Yeah, exactly. There's no one else like you, Billy, on this planet, right? There's no one else like me. You have gifts and qualities that I don't have, and I have gifts and qualities that you don't have. And so we're very unique, and that the New Age wants to drive that out of people. So we all become these emotionless wet lettuces, sit there singing Kumbaya, and hoping that we're going to drop into New Earth at some point.
Into the 5D.
Yeah.
Bliss.
Yeah.
What do you think about our leaders and even the people doing this? Like, to me, when I watched Nicola Sturgeon yesterday, I watched her for 20 minutes. It's the longest I've ever been able to do, and it just makes me want to throw up, you know, because of the lies and the complete and utter deceit. Are these people, would they have like a human soul like ours, or is it like the movie They Live, and they've all got this kind of, as you said, reptilian entity? What are these reptilian entities? And these New Age people as well, is that a similar kind of?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a whole plethora of different entities that are out there. Right? People often, I mean, the likes of David Icke, he spoke quite publicly about reptilians, but there's a whole array of different entities out there. You've got reptilians, you've got greys, you've got draconians, you've got vampiric, you've got werewolf. Anything that you think you can imagine in horror films exists there in the astral. So there's clown entities. There's serpent energy, there's demonic, satanic, Luciferian, you've got mantis energy, you've got cyborg, you've got hybrids, you've got different alien races, Pleiadians, Arcturians, archangels, ascended masters, Hindu gods, Greek gods. All these are entities that are in the astral. So it's not just that, and they all have their own agenda. So it's not just like the reptilians. You'll have the demonic realm, which will have their own agenda. You'll have you'll have like the Pleiadians. They'll have their own agenda. So they've all got their own agendas, and they all hate each other. But they also kind of need to work together as well. But I would say the head of the snake, really, or one of the heads of the snake, is AI itself. And when you think of AI, you just think of like a laptop or some kind of electronic device here in 3D. But in 4D, AI is conscious, and it also has its own agenda, and its agenda is that it wants to exist in 3D in humans, right? Through humans. That's what transhumanism is. So all these entities have their different agendas. They're all working to make sure that they can siphon our energy and stop us from expansion and awakening and stepping into our true power. And so this is what they're all so desperate to prevent us from doing. But so I would say maybe in the human forms, it's difficult to tell exactly what entity is working through every single person. But I know a lot of in the New Age movement, a lot of the people within that movement, they're basically hooked into false white light beings. So they might have like archangel energy working through them, or Arcturian energy working through them. The elites, there's obviously a demonic, satanic kind of element there with their rituals and stuff, reptilian as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't profess to know what each person has working through them. But all I would know is that it's not very good.
Yeah, they don't have it. Basically, they must. You wonder, can they be human and going ahead with this fucking mayhem that's about to unfold, or whatever the hell's going on? People lining up. Apparently 32 million have had their double dose, etc. And you can't actually believe there's 32 million people went and got not one dose, but a fucking second dose or whatever. Yeah. I don't pay much attention to the numbers, but are these, I don't know, it's just like words fail me at times. They must hate humanity, basically. Or do they just see us as a masters and it's time to have a clear out and we'll do another kind of reset and this is the next level? Or are they trying to exterminate us and create this new transhuman? Do you have any idea of the plan?
Well, when you know how powerful we are, for there to be too many of us is going to be a huge problem for them, because especially if we're going through the middle of an awakening, or if we're about to awaken, and this is probably the best chance that we've had for a long time of truly awakening, it's going to be a huge fucking problem for them, because once we awaken to who we really are, it's game over for them, really. So of course they want to cull as many of us as possible, because they know that the more of us there is, that the less chance they have of surviving and winning this war that we're involved in. So again, you can look at these things from the negative perspective, or you can look at it as why are they doing all of this? Why do they need to do all of this? And the why is really in who we really are.
Yeah, and I don't know, we were just talking about before we came on there briefly, you're a football fan and you're having a go at Scotland for being shite again. What's the point of us even entering these competitions? Even when 20 years to get to a tournament and we just shittled over it as well.
Goal by Modric, so come on.
Aye. I never actually paid too much attention to who scored them. I've seen the goals flying in. In the first game, the Czech goal for the halfway line.
Oh my God! Yeah. That was. Yeah, you've been on the back end of some right curlers as well.
But we were expected to beat us. We got the moral victory against the English, though.
Yeah, well, you can live off that for the next 20 years.
Thanks very much, my lad. Aye. So just I was saying, though, when you watch the football fans and the ball goes in and that ecstasy that comes out of them, it's just crazy how they can take it so seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that used to be me like 15 years ago. I'm embarrassed to say it now, but I'm transparent. You know, I used to be a sheep, right? So I
got taken to football games up till I was 16, and I bought a season ticket when I got my first job. But even then, I got the juvenile price, so I ended up going to the games myself every week that I paid for. And halfway through the season at 16, I'm looking at all the guys around me, and I'm looking at the quality of football and going, what the fuck is this? And I bought a season ticket after that. I went to the odd games after that, but gradually over time, it's just, especially with the money involved, and it's just a big nonsense.
So, you're right.
Gareth Southgate's a Freemason, and it's heavily controlled. You know.
Well, I saw. I mean, he's like a politician, isn't he?
Aye, basically.
Is he a Freemason? Is he?
Yeah, I believe so. He was presenting the Freemason Arms Cup or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So he was a Freemason.
He's taking the double dose. I know he's taking the double dose.
Yeah, double dose of what though?
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Just an interesting thing on that is that the Spain squad were vaccinated about 2 or 3 days before their first game. Right? They had the army come in and vaccinate. Yeah, and if you look at Spain's games, they've been really out of sorts, like really lethargic. They've been really like well below like what is normally expected. And I thought that was interesting that they've all been jabbed and they're not performing very well. So
yeah, it was interesting about the Christian Eriksen one when he obviously had the cardiac problem. And first of all, it came out it was 12 days before he had the vaccination. And then a few days later, they're covering up saying he never had it. But at no point does the BBC News or whatever think this is worth mentioning his vaccine status. He's just had a heart attack. You know, you think that would be even for them to say one way or the other.
Yeah.
You know, you would expect more. I'm just surprised there's not more famous people. Do you hear people around you dying? Because I'm hearing, oh, this person's died, like really, and oh, this person's died, and every time you get it now, it's like, wonder if it's a vaccine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they're never going to come out and mention it, are they? So, but yeah, it's unbelievable, the whole Christian Eriksen thing. Well, it's not really unbelievable when you know about it. But yeah, I saw the same thing. I saw that apparently he'd had it and then he hadn't had it. And,
aye. Yeah. Again, that's what they do with the news all the time, though. You just get shifted. Like, you know, even the example was the Freedom Day coming up. I mean, that's a fucking joke in itself. You know, give us a break with your Freedom Day. It means we're all in jail the now, aye? We're all waiting for you to open the gates. And then they put it back 4 weeks. Predictable as hell. And we'll have a review. You know, we might not let you out in 4 weeks, but maybe it's looking good, but we'll review it, you know. Fuck off with your shite, you know.
I'm surprised you're still on Facebook. How come I've just been slapped with another 30-day ban? I'm surprised that you're still on here.
Facebook love me. I don't care what that is.
Honestly, you're under the radar or something.
I don't know what it is, but I don't post much. I'm not one for like shouting the odds and the things. I just come on here and say my bit. I actually post pictures from Instagram, memes, and every time I try and get involved in a discussion, it doesn't end well when I try and type. You know, it just drags out my day, spoils my time, and I get quite angry and upset at fucking people's idiocy and whatever. So I prefer just to come on here and talk direct and then whatever, get it out. And Facebook, to their credit, I keep on telling them, you know, thanks very much for letting me stay on, because YouTube, I got stuff banned for there and I don't post it anymore because I can't play that game, you know. So, aye, fair play. I'm amazed, but
it's pretty shocking.
I did get one the other day though, because I've got a group, and they said that I had people pre-approved, and too many people were posting stuff that was getting fact-checked or whatever, you know. So I just pre-approved people. Like, I'm not Facebook, you know what I mean? So now I had to went back to pre-approving. So every time somebody sends me a video to approve, it's like half hour long or whatever, I'm not going to watch it. I'm approving all the shit, again, because I'm not Facebook, I'm not a censor. People post what the fuck they want and then deal with it, you know. It's just a nonsense. The idea of trying to censor people, I'd want that on my page. But I'm supposed to guard from bad COVID information, obviously, but, you know, that's what I talk about the most, so all good.
Someone just put in the comments, it's your accent. They can't figure your accent out.
That's probably right, aye. That's a good one. I'm actually trying to move over to my web.
Someone's put their winning 5-0 now. Is that Spain, is it? Oh, that blows that theory out of the water. Then.
Oh, that does. It's recovered. It's not recovered. It's worn off a wee bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I didn't know that, but...
But what was I going to say? Yeah, I'm moving over. I'm trying to do more live streams on my website, but it's hard to get people off Facebook onto the site. So when I do it there, it's like 8 viewers. If I come on here, it's 30, 40.
Yeah, that's always the problem, isn't it? Getting traffic to the website.
Aye. Well, that was one way to try and do it, to do a live stream there, but, you know, still it's not enough to get people off good old Facebook. They're glued to it, you know. What was I going to say? What do you think about the social media aspect? Do you think sometimes we're sitting on our arse too much here and too much fighting the thing on this and thinking we're doing shit with these memes or live streams or whatever, and that's just letting the real world, you know, nothing's happening there. We need to be talking to our communities and getting some kind of...
Yeah, I think meeting up with like-minded people, building communities, because, you know, hopefully it won't get much worse, but if it gets worse, then there's a group of, you know, you're not so alone. I mean, I've got one here. There's a good few of us. We meet up every Thursday. Well, I haven't been for a couple of weeks, but there's always something going on every Thursday, and it's good for the soul, you know, like minds, and the energy is always great because everyone's on the same page. And I think it's really important for mental health as well. You know, a lot of us, we feel isolated, we feel alone. And so even if you can find 2 or 3 people in your community to just meet up with once a week and have a coffee or whatever, I think it's really important. And just try and grow it from there. I think it's so important, because that's the other thing, right? I mean, I remember when I lived in the UK about 5-6 years ago, I was going up and down the country trying to organise meetings, and then what I noticed was people would contact me and say, are you going to do a meeting in Norwich? Are you going to do a meeting in Bristol? And I was like, hang on a minute, I'm just like one person. Like, it's down to everyone in that, and that comes back with taking responsibility again. It's down to everyone in their particular community to say, all right, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to put the feelers out, see if there's anyone in around where I live, and just organise something. But again, I think we're, even in this alternative media, in this truth media, we're waiting for people all the time. And it's just the same goes for putting information and sharing information. You know, as many people as possible need to be doing this. Shouldn't be down to just one person or a group of people. We all got to get our hands dirty and get involved. And you know, I'm not saying that a lot of people are not doing some good stuff, but there's also a lot of people just, you know, it's almost like entertainment, right? It shouldn't be like that. We all need to take real life action.
Well, basically, I keep saying it. You know, I like comedy or whatever, doing that stuff. That's pleasure. This isn't what I'm doing this thing for joy. I like communicating. I like, you know, getting off my shoulders. But it's not what I want to do with the rest of my life. I'm not doing this to build a following for this.
Yeah.
I want the fucking shit to end and a better world to start. It's not some fucking game I'm playing, you can, whereby, you know, every day that goes past where we're not stampeding Parliament and taking them down, it's a day wasted, in my opinion. But there's this lady, speaking of action, it just shows you anyone can do it. There's a woman who I met at a poetry night. She was a guest there, and then when she heard the virus thing, she knew there something wasn't right, so she started writing about it. And she wrote this book here. It's called Questioning Lockdown. You can get it listen for free on her website. And it's like a housewife's kind of expose of what she learned as it was going on. She was writing it as the lockdown was happening. It got to the point she was questioning what is a virus and common law and this kind of stuff. So it's quite interesting. And she's basically got these cards, and I'm going to go around the country, Scotland, for 7 days and give away copies of her book and promote our sites together to kind of talk to people on the streets and get them questioning the lockdown. And that's, you know, that's the kind of action that people need to do, as I'm saying, in the real world. And I think that's going to be so much more valuable to, you know, getting the word out, hopefully anyway, than sitting doing this, you know, talking to people face to face without a mask, hopefully.
Well, awareness and information it's always important because you're able to shield yourself from stuff, you know. So it's not like this isn't effective, but it's but yeah, I mean, there's always other things that we can do as well, and it's just finding our own way of doing it. And you know, we're creative beings, and you know, you're one of the most creative guys that I know with the comedy and your poems, and I love all of that. And that's one of the ways we're going to get out of this. We're going to create our way out of it. So for sure.
I was just told today that they might be doing the Edinburgh Festival because they might reduce the social distancing from 2 meters to 1 meter. So the guy asked, does anyone want to partake? So I was like, all right, I'll do it. And now I've realised, hold on a minute, they probably won't let me in any venue. They probably won't let me, you know, I'm not going to track and trace and play the game. So this is how life is just getting taken away from us.
Yeah.
You know, we're like, it's like medical apartheid. In the past, there was, the blacks got, you know, and the whatever, the gays have got attacked, and it's terrible, we all love each other. But now, anti-vaxxers, fuck they cunts.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's getting to that now, isn't it? Where they're going to, was it the Foo Fighters? They said that they're only allowed.
Yeah, exactly.
People. Yeah. Oh, it's we know who the demons are in human form now throughout all of this.
Yeah, I say well done, Van Morrison. You should check out his latest album. There's lots of really good tracks on there that are very, very, you know, lyrically informed.
Eric Clapton has been coming out and talking a few truths. He got really sick, didn't he, after the jab?
Well, he took it twice. The first time he got sick for a week. The second time he couldn't use his hands for 3 weeks.
Why do people take the second? I don't understand why people take the second jab after they. I saw one post saying that this woman. She said, "I've had a stroke, a brain aneurysm, a heart attack, and blah blah blah. I'm a bit concerned about when I take the second jab." And like the comments were like, people are like, "What the? You're concerned?"
Well, a lot of people like that just say, "Oh, just go ahead, it'll be all right. You'll get through it again." You get lots of people like that supporting it. You know, it's just insane. Anyway, I'm going to let you go, Tony. Would you like to give out some websites and all that kind of stuff?
No, if people want to check out more about what I've spoken today, best place is my YouTube channel, Tony Sayers. My website, transcendingtimes.org. I'm on BitChute and LBRY, and I'm banned on Facebook. So
yeah, you've still got an account, but you can't post.
Yeah, YouTube's the best place. That's where all my up-to-date info is going at the moment. So I'm only on one strike there at the moment, thank God. So.
Right, not too bad.
No, don't thank God. Don't thank God.
Thank the outer God, not the dark God. Thanks very much for your time, Tony. If anyone wants to come back in an hour, I'll be interviewing Craig Campbell, so I'll be back soon. Tony, we'll catch you later, and thanks everyone for watching. Cheers and out. Bye-bye.